Afternoon, everybody. You guys hearing me?
Hi, good afternoon,
Good
Dean.
All right, great. Am I coming
Good
across clear?
afternoon. Hi, Kimani.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone.
Afternoon. And is Chanel on? Yeah?
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Chanel. Thank you all again.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I'll start recording at 2:30 on the dot. That okay?
Yes, that's fine.
I think so, Joshua.
Do I just start talking at 2:30? Am I the first person that goes?
According to the program, you are Dean.
All right. So at 2:30 start, I will start then.
Okay.
This is a quick test. You guys still seeing me? Because I'm not seeing that screen.
Yes, we can see.
See you. Uh-huh. Dean, I don't think you should start promptly at 2:30 because it's just 6 participants on. Maybe we should wait a little. I'm thinking.
But isn't this the 6 participants on Zoom, whereas the students would be? So I think the presenters are on Zoom.
Well, true. That's true.
On YouTube.
That's true. That's true.
Joshua, you have any idea of how many people are on the YouTube channel? Can you tell?
There are 9 that are watching now, and also to remind you guys that you're live, so they're seeing and hearing all the conversations.
Okay.
All right. Students who are online, I'm just going to give another 5 minutes, and then we'll start at 2:35. Okay, we're going to start now. Good afternoon, students. Please allow me to welcome you to the first session in the Faculty of Social Sciences Let's Talk Student Series, in which we'll be talking about your degree and you. This is an initiative which is being driven by the Social Sciences Faculty Office in an effort to answer your pressing questions, to ease your mind about the things which concern you, and to give you some tips and guidance which we believe will be beneficial to you as you seek to bring this semester to a successful close. Students, we know that this semester has had some challenges. We know that some of you have had a tough time coping with all the changes that have had to be made because of COVID-19. We know that many of you have challenges that extend well beyond us and our courses, which affect your ability to cope and to concentrate on your studies. We know because many of us as lecturers and staff also had a tough time coping as well. Our issues may not be exactly the same as yours, but we too have had our struggles. And it's because we have all had our challenges and struggles that we need to work together to see how best we can support each other through these times. This is the spirit in which we have been working with the FSS Guild representative throughout the semester, in partnership, seeking to identify and resolve issues in a manner that best meets all of our needs. So let me pause to thank Mr. Kimani Shaw, your student representative, who has been working hard with us and who has played an important part in bringing this session to fruition. I also want to thank our Deputy Dean, Dr. Heather Ricketts, and our Senior Administrative Officer, Ms. Stephanie Pinnock, who worked tirelessly to resolve and address all student matters and who came up with and planned this initiative. The Faculty of Social Sciences has over 8,000 students enrolled in our programs and over 11,000 students registered in our courses. And we regard every one of you as our valued customers. We are driven by our FSS Reach vision. And the E in that word reach represents our commitment to exceed the expectations of our students and other stakeholders. We have sought to pivot in response to the COVID-19 pandemic to best meet the needs of you, our 11,000 plus students. It has not been easy, it has not been perfect, but we have done so with this vision in mind that together we can exceed expectations. This initiative is one of many that we have introduced in this effort to meet your needs. I congratulate you for taking the opportunity to engage in this discussion, and I wish for you a very productive session. I encourage you, please pay keen attention to the study tips that you'll be getting from one of your own students. Whether you're in first year or final year, it's not too early or too late to refine these critical skills. Also, please take keen note of the critical regulations and student support services that Dr. Ricketts will be outlining. Believe when I say that this information is critical to you as you navigate this journey. It's better you learn now rather than wish you had known at what you thought was the end of your journey with us. And finally, please utilize the question and answer session in a productive manner, in a manner that enables you to get useful information to carry you through this journey. We'll do our best to answer your questions. And for those questions to which we don't have answers right now, we'll do our best to get answers as quickly as is possible. I want to thank again the organizers of this session. I hope that it will be very productive. Let me now welcome Dr. Heather Ricketts, our dedicated, hardworking, and caring Deputy Dean. Dr. Ricketts is in charge of student matters in the Faculty of Social Sciences. She is passionate about ensuring that our students are treated fairly and are given the best possible guidance. I'm happy to leave you in her very capable hands as she takes you into the meat of this session. Dr. Ricketts, over to you.
So thank you, Dean. And let me thank you for the very gracious welcome and introduction. And I want to say how happy I am that we are able to meet with you students, to share a little bit for us to talk. You know, let's talk like we are friends, like we are colleagues. You know, COVID has caused us to pivot to online. And so quite a bit of the traffic that I would normally have, or the deputy dean would normally have by way of face-to-face, that has been reduced to emails. We do get one or two walk-in visits, but I haven't met many of you. I've only met you by email. And because I have been processing, especially for those who are just processing your transcripts for graduation, there are a few things that I have noticed that I want to just stress to all of you. And so I have prepared a presentation, and I'm going to try and share it now so that you can have this at your fingertips. So let me just try to share my presentation with you. So I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to share my screen. Where am I? Just trying to get up my presentation. Just bear with me, please. And for me to just put it on my desktop, and then I can share it with you. So in the meantime, I just want to say, I just want to talk a little bit about the handbook. I want to talk to you about the handbook. Let me just share my screen and try and get it from share. Are you seeing my screen now? I just want to make sure that everybody is seeing my screen. So let's talk a little bit about the handbook. So this is the Social Sciences Undergraduate Student Handbook, and I want you to see this as your Bible. It is your student Bible. For those of you who are just joining us, you would have the handbook electronically, and that's the 2020-2021 handbook. For those of you who were here before, you would have an older handbook, maybe the 1819 handbook or the 1920 handbook or the 2017-18 handbook. Remember that your degree follows the handbook for the year in which you came. So if you are a brand new student starting in September last month, your handbook is the 2020-2021 handbook. Now, for you to be able to access your student handbook, this is, you can go to this Faculty of Social Sciences page, and you can download the handbook from the page. And these are the URLs where you can actually download and read your handbook. Pay attention, as I'm saying, to your year of entry. I want to say a little bit about credits, because I have had the unfortunate experience of meeting students who think that they are finished and they only have had 27 credits at the lower level or 57 credits at the upper level, which would be levels 2 and 3. Now remember that for a degree, the minimum number of credits you are allowed is 30 credits, per level, minimum number. For social work students, it's 33 credits. So they have to satisfy 99 credits to the end of their program. A degree has a total of 90 credits, minimum, or 99 therefore, and that's across levels 1, 2, and 3. I want you to ensure that the credits, if you are a full-time student, that you are taking 30 or 33 in the case where you are a social work student, you are taking 30 credits per academic year. So you will do 15 in one semester, 15 in another semester, or it could be 18 credits in one semester and 15 in the other. For full-time students. For part-time students, you are only allowed to take 3 courses per semester. So if you take 6 courses across the academic year, then that's 18 credits. Now, you are permitted to take up to 7 courses in an academic year as a part-time student. And if you do so, then the seven courses across the academic year, 7 threes would be 21. And so you will have 21 credits for the academic year. At the upper levels, where we consider them to be levels 2 and 3, you must have a minimum of 60 or 66 in the case of social work, as I keep mentioning, credits at levels 2 and 3 combined. What I'm finding is that students have 57 credits and they think that they have completed, and they're not completed. So this is something I want you all to ensure. And you can do this by doing your credit check yourself. follow the handbook. Before I go on to how you do the credit check, I want to say to you, be careful of the level 0 or 0 level courses. They do not count. 0 level courses such as Government GOVT 0100, that course is simply a prerequisite for you to move on. So it's not counted among your level 1. So you may think that at the end of year 1 that you have 30 credits. You may have 30 credits, but 3 of your credits may be 0 level, and 27 would be level 1. Now the 0 level cannot count as level 1, and so you will be short. So if you have taken a 0 level course, you must ensure that that is replaced later on by another course that will count towards your cumulative GPA or to your degree GPA. So let's talk a little bit about how you do a credit check. The first thing you do is to access an unofficial copy of your transcript via FSS. You all should know how to do this. Locate the handbook, which corresponds with the year that you have entered the program. Then you identify your program of study and you check the requirements of your program alongside your transcript to determine the courses that you have completed and any outstanding courses that you have. All core courses, that's courses listed under a program, as well as the required number of electives at the indicated levels, must be passed in order to complete your degree. So pay attention. If you have electives which say, for example, and 4 or 5 level 2 electives, then you have to look for level 2. So you have to look for courses which begin with, if it's SOCI or SOWK 2, it has to begin with the numeral 2. If it's level 3, it must begin with the numeral 3. So please pay attention to these details. For you students who are finalizing, we strongly recommend that you consult with the student handbook, which corresponds with the year that you were admitted. And that is to ensure that your program requirements are being met. If after completing your credit check you encounter any problems, then you consult your department that offers the program for clarification. So don't come heading up to see the deputy dean, or you want to see the dean, or you come to the faculty office first. Go to consult your department first. If you have a program coordinator, consult the program coordinator or whomever the administrator in the department is, or even your lecturer. So, and this is something which I want all of you who are finalizing to ensure. So students ask a bit about oral examinations, and I have seen, a few students require oral exams at the end of the last academic year. Now remember that for an oral exam to be allowed, you must be a final year student who has 1 or 2 courses that you may have failed at an F1 or as an F1 failure, which means you've got between 45 and 49%. Only 1 or 2. If you have failed 3 courses, you have to do them over. If it's 4, you will not get an oral exam. So it must be that you are outstanding either 1 or 2 courses that you have failed marginally at the F1 level. If those courses, so you have the oral and you pass the course or courses, the grade cannot be higher than 50%, which is a C. So you may have aced it, you can't get an A or an A+. You will only get 50%. In the Department of Economics, I want you to note that supplemental exams are given rather than oral exams. So that's something for you to note. With respect to those of you who may complete your programs with a GPA, a degree GPA below 2, because a minimum GPA for you to be awarded a degree is 2.0. if you complete your program, so you've done all your courses and you have met all the requirements, but your degree GPA is below 2, that award of degree or declaration of the degree has to be adjudicated by the Board for Undergraduate Studies. So I as Deputy Dean, I will have to write to the Board for Undergraduate Studies on behalf of all students whose degree GPAs fall below 2 to ask the board for its consideration and its adjudication. It is not in my hands or the hands of the faculty. So I just want you to note this. So let's go on. What can departments do versus what can the faculty do? So when you come to the department office or to the faculty office, I want us all to be clear about what we are asking the department or the faculty to do. And so I want to share with you some of the requests that are handled by departments separate from what are handled by the faculty office. So if you need anything having to do with academic advising, you're changing a major or a minor or a special, you want to change from one stream to another, or you want special approval to enter a course, or you need overrides where you see things like level restriction or college restriction or degree restriction, etc., or quota limit reached, you have to get in touch with the department in which your major is being done. Or in the case of if you need an override for a course in which your major, for your minor, let us say, and the minor happens to be outside of the faculty or outside of the department of your major, then you have to go to that relevant department. So these are the requests that departments handle: academic advising, change of major, change of stream, special approval for entry, and certain overrides. In terms of the faculty office now, we handle a number of requests, and those requests are done via our automated student request system, or what we call the ASRS. That's where you have to go on. So you get on, you go through the ASRS, and you can apply for things such as late adjustment to your registration, so you want to add or you want to drop, late registration, a request to audit a course, a request to replace a core course with another course, any kind of exemption, whether with credit or without credit. You want to be able to carry over coursework. Let's say you did a course in a previous semester and something happened. Maybe you were ill and you couldn't sit the final exam, or God forbid there was an accident, you couldn't sit the final exam. Then you can indicate this, request this through the faculty office for your coursework, if you had done coursework for the course, to be carried over into the next semester in which you are taking the course. If you want to be able to do exams only, you have to apply for this via the ASRS, and then we will have to open, with our help from the registry information systems, set up the exams only container just for you to be able to do so. If you want to defer an exam, and these are under special circumstances, some people are sports, some of you students are sports men and women, and you are representing Jamaica overseas, you can't sit your exam, then that's a special circumstance. Or you may be working and your job sends you overseas, or requires you to be in office at the time of exam, some kind of special circumstance, then of course you make the request. If for certain conditions, you will of course have to have the justification, the backing letter from your company that is sending you overseas, or for the, if you're representing the country, we need to have evidence that you are doing so. Requests that are also handled by the faculty office are things such as leave of absence, voluntary withdrawal, waivers of the requirements to withdraw. So you get a requirement to withdraw and you want us to consider you especially you apply for a waiver of the requirement. If you want to study on another campus of the UE, like you want to do a semester abroad, or you are part of an exchange program, you want to study over in Canada, or you want to go to the University of Gothenburg for a semester, those have to be handled by the faculty office. Also, the faculty office handles other things, but via SAS. So that's the Student Administrative System. So if for approvals of additional courses, remember you are only allowed as a full-time student 5 courses per semester. So you might be a finalizing student and you happen to have, let's say you happen to have 11 courses outstanding. You might want to do 6 in one semester, 5 in the other. For you to do the 6th course, then you apply through SAS for the approval for the additional course. You also apply for approval of change of enrollment status. You might be changing from part-time to full-time or vice versa. That's done again through SAS. So you don't go to your department office for that. You do that, you come to the faculty, but you do that really via SAS. I want to talk a little bit about academic integrity and cheating. As Deputy Dean, I sit on the examinations committee for the university, Mona campus. And over the summer, just before we started back, or just as we started back, we had a meeting of the examination committee to consider examination irregularities, which we saw an increase of on account of the online examinations. There was some collusion, people sharing work via WhatsApp and different things, people not doing the exam under the examination conditions as we would have expected if you were in a face-to-face proctored environment. Students, I want to warn you that we are paying very keen attention to matters of cheating and therefore, academic integrity. Academic integrity is paramount. You will require a transcript from the university at some point in your life. You may need a referral letter or a recommendation from somebody in the university. And if you have on your transcript evidence of the lack of integrity, cheating, for example, any kind of examination irregularity, then of course you have shot yourself in the foot. So students, I am appealing to you under examination conditions. If you have to, if we have to sit exams again in the way that we did in the last semester, last academic year, that's for those of you who were here or second and final year students, you would recall how we did exams last academic year. I am appealing to you to sit your exam by yourself. Do not get caught up in anybody wanting to get you involved in anything unsavory. And so I will ask you to check the following appendices in your handbook. Ensure if you are submitting coursework that you sign and upload your undergraduate coursework accountability statement. Ensure that you have that. It's an appendix that's in the handbook. You will see what it looks like. And there is another appendix in the handbook which speaks to presenting and documenting material in coursework essays. It gives you a beautiful, it provides beautiful assistance in how you deal with referencing material, quoting from secondary sources, etc. Please pay attention. And I will go back to say, nobody wants FEI, which is failed examination irregularity, on your transcript. Remember that penalties will range from a warning and a fine, and the fines are a lot, to the FEI on your transcript, and in some cases, expulsion from the university. So, continuing. As you would know, because of COVID, and we have had to pivot to online, we recognize that some students didn't have the technology to be able to pivot successfully. And so the university, with help from a lot of its supporters, stakeholders, networks, etc., was able to receive donations of tablets and laptops. So there are some that are available, and there is a tablet loan project. So these are electronic devices, as you know, for students to borrow so you can access remote learning during the semester. There are a few laptops that are available. If you are interested in borrowing a device, you need to send an email to FSS_studentmatters@uwimona.edu.jm. You need to provide your full name, your ID number, and some contact information, like an email address or a phone call. Now that request we will forward to the main library, and they will contact you when the request is processed and the device is available for collection. So all you do is sign up with us, through us. We send forward the information to the library, and then they will do the contacting. Now, students, again, because of COVID, some of us are not coping as well as we used to cope when we were face-to-face. You know, life has become quite filled for some of us with a lot of anxiety and so on. If at all you need any kind of psychosocial support, please do not hesitate to reach out. There is the University Counseling Service. If you go online, even if you just Google University of the West Indies Health Center, you will see the University Counseling Service mentioned. There is a website. There is individual counseling that's available. You can talk to a counselor on a one-on-one to explore and understand and work through your personal concerns. Or you can call a number or email counsel@uwimona.edu.jm to make an appointment. Or you can actually go through UWI Helps. And this is actually a counseling hotline that you can access by phone or by text. It's a 24-hour hotline, and the number is 876-294-0042. Students, I ask you to take this matter of your mental health and wellness very seriously. If you have any concerns about yourself or not a fellow student, please do not hesitate to get in touch with the University Counseling Service or UWI Helps or a lecturer. Let your lecturer know so that they can help you to guide you where you need to go. Now, I know some of you may be concerned about what the format for the semester 1 exams would be, the final exam for semester 1. Now, that has not yet been finalized. So we can't at the moment tell you what modality it will be. So we are waiting currently on guidance from the campus. And as soon as we have that, I'm sure the campus registrar is going to issue a statement, and you will be so advised. For those of you who are students on student loan from the Students' Loan Bureau, the student loan has advised the campus of delays in payment, and the university assures you that once you have been registered, so once you're registered, you have been approved for the loan, it will not adversely affect you doing your mid-semester exams. So don't be worried about your mid-semester exams. The university knows that the SLB payments will be late, and so allowances will be made for you. So don't worry of yourself unduly. And to close off, I just want to say to you, this is the information to reach the social science faculty office. We have a website, we have the email, our telephone numbers are 927-2592, 977-0640. That's to get me. The mobile for the faculty for Student Matters is 395-0190. And our mailing address is 6 Ring Road, Kingston 7, We are available on social media, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and so forth, okay? And the last thing to tell you is to provide you with a little bit of contact information for your departments. If you are looking on, you may want to you all are so savvy, take a picture of the screen right now so you know who to get in touch with for your various programs. Most of you, I am sure, are from the MSBM. So the people to get in touch with are Dr. Charlotte Donalds, Dr. Andrew Spencer, Dr. Noel Cowell, and Ms. Shirley Ann Eaton. If you are here from the Western Jamaica campus, we have the website number, Javon Henry, Craig Clark are the people who you can get in touch with. The weekend program, it would be Miss Anisha Creary. And of course, from the Department of Economics, Dr. Dixon Hamill, from the Department of Government, Dr. Vassiani, Dr. Monroe, Professor Skoberg, and from the Sociology, Psychology, and Social Work Department, Dr. Gillian Mason, Ms. Sandra Latibade for Social Work, Gillian Mason for Psychology, and Dr. Herbert Gale for Sociology, Psychology, Demography, all those other allied disciplines. So students, this, my clarion call to you really is to have your student handbook as your student Bible. Follow it very carefully. Make sure that you proceed through university with integrity so that your character will not be under any kind of scrutiny or suspicion, and that at the time of graduation, you can safely have a transcript that goes to any employer, potential employer, or ask a lecturer for a recommendation, and they will not have anything unsavory to say about you. So welcome again. Thank you for logging into this Let's Talk series. Sorry. And let me just wish you all the very best for the academic year. Well, for this semester and for the academic year. Of course, we will meet again and have other sessions. So at this point, I want to, before I hand over to the president of the FSS Honor Society, I want to introduce to you Dr. Carol James Bateman, who is the Associate Dean for Undergraduate Student Matters, and she has an exciting program that she wants to tell you about, and I just want to hand over to her. So Chanel, if you would permit me, I just want to ask Dr. James Bateman to speak at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ricketts. Good afternoon, everyone. Are you seeing my screen?
Yes, we are.
Okay, great. So I would like to introduce to you the Roll With It platform. And this platform is a virtual supportive platform that's designed for our undergraduate students. Really, it's designed for everyone in the Faculty of Social Sciences. The rationale behind it is that I know that we've been talking a lot about COVID, but we have to face the reality that COVID has brought significant challenges to our lives, significant changes. It has made, for some individuals we have some struggles, and for other individuals, it has helped them to realize how much it is that they're resilient. So we want to be able to acknowledge these fears, but also acknowledge ways in which we can empower students and connect with our students, given that we're now operating online for the most part. Now, as a group of disciplines that deal with human beings and society, the Faculty of Social Sciences has a unique opportunity to influence and shape the minds and behaviors of its budding social scientists. This approach, the Roll With It approach, will provide our students with a holistic support by stimulating them cognitively, psychologically, and physically. it is also an opportunity for us to showcase to you, our students, how our scientific approaches can work in our lives, as well as to demonstrate how it applies to society. So in introducing this virtual platform, I would like to introduce to you Roll With It. So Roll With It really is the fact that we have these challenging times. We now have to think about things differently, have a shift in our perspective, and apply more flexibility as we go through these challenges. So the Roll With It virtual platform is designed to enhance students' resilience, improve their learning experience, improve their university experience, and create more connection between students and lecturers and students, sorry, as well as lecturer and lecturer. So we're gonna be capitalizing on the online experience. We're gonna be using it as a resource for information, unity, support, and thereby producing healthy, well-rounded graduates. There's going to be a heavy reliance on a mascot, which is going to be carefully selected by our students. We have our if you've gotten the survey already, or please look out for the survey. We've been sending out the survey with several selections for you to choose from. We also have members of staff who are also working on making their own selections, so that at the end of the day, we can identify a mascot for the faculty. Now,
excuse me, Dr. Bateman, we're not seeing your screen.
Oh, you're not? Okay.
No, so can we, yes.
Are you seeing it now?
Not yet.
Oh.
We were seeing it at first, and okay, yes, we're seeing it now.
Okay, where did I lose you?
Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Ricketts.
That's okay.
Okay, so where did I lose you? Was it early on, or?
I think you could just continue.
Just continue. Okay,
yes.
Okay. So the right. So we will be using the mascot as a way of identifying the faculty pride, faculty identity. Dr. Ricketts spoke about integrity and, you know, certain standards that we have in the faculty that we all have to live up to. So whether you're a student or members of staff, we do have to use our integrity. So this mascot is going to help us to convey this information, but also to inspire us on a daily basis. So the question is, you know, what will our mascot be? And that is dependent on you. So your involvement and your participation in the survey, we really want to hear from you guys. So Dr. Ricketts has given you a lot of information. Now we're asking you for feedback and we're asking you for information. So we'll be promoting the mascot several weeks before the launch of Roll With It. We will advertise it hopefully the first week in December, and it will also give students an opportunity to apply their artistic capabilities to designing a mascot for the faculty. So once we've identified the mascot, we're going to be sending out some information for you guys to compete to show, you know, who has the best representation of the mascot, the chosen mascot. All right, so in terms of the information platform, we're going to be using, so we have the mascot, but we also will be using a blended approach. So we'd like information from the students as well as experts. Experts, both experts and students, will be sharing their own experiences, their own strategies as to how they deal with challenges as they go along, study techniques, eating habits, mental health, mental well-being. All of that will be discussed on the platform. And how it will be executed. So we'll use our social media platform, we'll be using newsletter, we'll be using YouTube channels, so you guys can look out for that information. The other thing that we'll be doing, we'll have a special segment on the YouTube channel called What's on Your Plate, and that's literally and figuratively. So some of you will be cooking and showing us like how you prepare a meal on a budget. Other persons will be talking about, you know, some of the challenges they face and ways in which they've coped with it. We'll also invite experts in to talk about these different challenges and give support. So what's on your plate? I mentioned that before, just in terms of meals on a budget, you know, cooking. We'll invite nutritionists in, we'll invite a physician in, we'll talk about sleep, we'll talk about psychological stress, we'll talk about budget, etc. So the first objective is really to stimulate the cognitive, psychological, and physical well-being of our students. And we're taking a team approach between students and faculty. In terms of the strategies that we'll be using to help you cognitively, we'll be getting information from CETL. We'll be talking about getting into learning zones, making mental shift, being organized. So some persons have been talking to me about their motivation, you know, procrastination. We'll be sending out articles and we'll be talking about that on our YouTube channel. Making plans as to how to use your space at home. So I'm sure that for some persons, they share a space and, you know, individuals will be coming in and out. So how to just focus on the information, focus on the screen and engage in your class material, and having a calendar and sticking to the work schedule. So those are some of the things that we'll be talking about. We'll be also, in terms of the psychological enhancement, we'll be looking at things from different perspectives. We'll have something that's quite similar to a TED Talk. So we'll be doing a Faculty of Social Sciences talk, and you guys can name it. So we can put the ideas out there and you can vote and tell us what you think we should call that segment. We'll be having motivational articles. We'll be looking at social connection and belongingness and creating a system of peer support. We'll also be engaging in exercise and healthy eating. And what we're proposing is for persons to engage in some competition. So later on in the semester, I'm gonna introduce you to an alumni who is willing to take on students and faculty members with his own burpees challenge, running, you know, all of the different physical activity that persons get into, and we'll have a competition and there will be some prizes involved. So we'll tell you a little bit more about that later on in the semester. What you'll also find, in addition to the mascot survey, is that there are other surveys going out, and we really want to see how you're coping with things mentally. What challenges COVID what challenges COVID is bringing to you, and, you know, ways in which you've resolved it. These surveys are going to help us to inform the YouTube channel as well as the articles that we produce. So if you don't tell us, then we don't know what problems to address. So that is why I'm encouraging you to ensure that you engage in these surveys once you see them coming out from the faculty office. All right, and then the last objective is really to find ways to engage with your lecturers. So we will be inviting them on some of to submit articles, as well as we'll invite them on What's on Your Plate for them to talk about some strategies that they've used to connect with students, as well as to provide you an opportunity to also share some of your needs. So we have different ways in which we're trying to engage and interact, and I'm hoping that you guys are excited about this platform. I'm hoping that you guys are really engaging with the mascot survey and you're filling it out, as well as the mental health and coping with COVID survey, because we really would like to hear from you guys. So thank you for this time.
Thank you, Dr. James Bateman. Thank you so much. So students, you would have heard the exciting proposal for a platform called Roll With It. So look out for more information, and I hope that you will, get involved. We all have to get involved. Thank you again.
You're welcome.
It is my pleasure now to hand over to the president of the FSS Honor Society, Ms. Chanel Graham. And she's going to share a few study skill tips and some strategies and lessons that she has, learned over her couple years here and also from her peers. So Ms. Graham, Chanel, over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Ricketts. Good afternoon, everyone live on the platform. It's indeed a pleasure for me to be here this afternoon to share with you all. So with the shift from face-to-face to online learning, most of us find the teaching and the learning process very exasperating and more challenging, as study habits that we would have developed prior to this period, we cannot rely on them anymore. And so some of us are experiencing what I'd call pre or post-exam misery, right? I understand your plight. And so I am pleased to be here this afternoon to share with you some strategies, tips, and a lesson about attacking these exams and attacking the studying habits. So let's start with the big picture, the lesson, and take it down progressively to the strategies and the tips you can utilize in your daily studies. So the lesson in this untypical experience is to be intentional. Now, why do I say this? We are within the confines of our homes, where recreation, relaxation was once the norm. Speaking from my purview, since entering the university space, when I come home, it's a time for me to let down my hair, put up my feet. That's the kind of vibe I get from home. But no, home is school. Thus, we have to be intentional in our pursuits going forward. So one of the steps that I have to be intentional is to adopt a growth mindset and growth as it relates to learning, right? So this begins with shifting your inner dialogue from your belief about your abilities to belief about your opportunities and needs. So here now we're home and we're saying, okay, I don't think I can do this or I can perform as well as I normally would. It's time to shift that inner dialogue from, not being able to thinking about the need for you to pass these exams and the opportunity you're getting at the same time to finish and complete your degree and move on into the working world. So simple statements have a dramatic impact on what you believe about your own abilities. Therefore, thoughts of positivity, and if you're a religious person, prayers and faith goes a long, long way in achieving this. Secondly, it's important to feed your curiosity. Now, curiosity is the engine of intentional learning and can be cultivated even in those who don't consider themselves naturally curious. Think of curiosity as priming the pump. It's what gets your learning started rather. And furthermore, curiosity is the awareness and openness to ideas and ability to make connections between disparate concepts. So try and put on your thinking cap or your curiosity cap, as our primary school teachers would have said, right? And the third step in this lesson of intentionality is to practice, 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 which will take me down to the study and exam strategies that I want to speak about. And the first in these strategies now is spaced practice. Now, this is the opposite of cramming. And spaced practice is also known as distributed practice, which some of you might or might not know. So, being at home creates an illusion that we have time. We really don't have any time. The mid-semester period is almost over, and before you know it, it will be time for finals again. As such, it is of paramount importance that we learn spaced practice. Now, spaced practice refers to a study schedule in which you divide your time into shorter, separate study periods. So instead of cramming and pulling all-nighters, which might have worked before now, it is most likely not to work now, given the composition and the shift in the testing approach of our examiners in these current exams. So practice spaced study, right? And my next tip is self-testing, or what we call retrieval practice. So it is important that we self-test. Self-testing is a learning strategy in which you first study the material, then try to recall as much as you can, or answer specific questions without looking back at the material. This, as I said before, can also be tied to the similar practice of retrieval practice, right? This makes studying more effortful and challenging. So, due to the fact that retrieving information requires mental effort, we often think we're doing poorly if we can't remember something. We may feel like progress is slow, but that is when learning takes place, scientifically proven, right? The more difficult retrieval practice is, the better it is for long-term learning, and the more ability it provides for regurgitation and highlighting gaps in your knowledge, signifying the areas that you need to work on. So if you practice retrieval study, then you might find that you have a specific gap somewhere in the material that you're trying to study, and then you will now focus your attention and try to work more on that for the exams. And the final strategy that I want to explain is the ask, explain, and connect concept, right? So ask yourself questions about the information you're studying. Go into the material and find the answers, after which you try to explain it to yourself, and then try to develop further questions and find the answer to these. If you don't want to ask yourself, if you don't want to sit down and talk to yourself and be asking yourself questions, find somebody in your home that you can, tell them to ask you something, explain it to them and ask them to ask you a question about it. Afterwards, you try to connect this new information with pre-existing knowledge. So it is important that we engage and utilize these strategies along with finding what specifically works for us. So take for instance, immediately before an exam, an emergency comes up. There's a power outage, or the night before, or somehow you get an anxiety or a panic attack minutes before the exam. This happens, especially with the feelings of uncertainty that is surrounding us right now. The prefrontal cortex of our brain is shutting down, literally locking off, and impairing our ability sometimes to solve problems, pay attention, to stay, flexible. So now when this happens, when the prefrontal cortex of your brain begin to give you some problems, we start thinking irrationally, and we have an exam like the next morning or in a few hours. And you know what can put the icing on the cake in this unfortunate situation? Swatting. So I am encouraging you, try not to swat. Swatting won't cut it for the caliber of exams that we're getting in this time, right? So I'm encouraging you to engage in self-practice, engage in, space practice, self and retrieval test, and a strategy of asking, explaining, and connecting. So now, with those highlighted, we're winding down smoothly to some of the tips that can be used to complement these strategies. And the first one is proper time management. And notice I put proper in front of it because often we say, oh, we have good time management skills or we need to manage our time, but most of the times we really need to manage our time properly. And that is essential given the illusion that we have that we seem to have all the time in the world because we're home. It's not true. It's an illusion. The Holy Spirit mind telling you that you have all the time. You don't. Okay. So next tip is to use up your online resources. Still attend classes, complete your tutorials, and attend office hours if you must. Utilize YouTube, utilize all the online platforms, and be on top of your game. Thirdly, be routine. Implementing a structure to your days can give you a sense of control. It can also improve your focus, organization, and your productivity. Fourthly, factor in internet downtime. This is a must, guys. At all times, try to have downloaded material on your devices so that in the event that the internet goes, your progress won't be halted. Get adequate sleep, organize your study area, explain to your family that it's time for school, feed on positivity, feed on prayers, and finally, be gentle on yourself. With all that is happening, don't be too hard on yourself. You can follow the strategies that I outlined and do that with commitment. Note though that being gentle on yourself is not an excuse for being complacent. So reward your good habits and focus on the goals and not the obstacles. I hope those strategies, those tips, and the lesson of intentionality will regurgitate with you today, and it will help you better to tackle these exam and study obstacles that you may be facing. Thank you.
Thank you, Chanel. Well, there is no question why Chanel is a member of the Honor Society. With that kind of outlook and with those tips, which no doubt, Chanel, you have employed in your own study life, it's certainly those tips show and explain why you are part of the Honor Society and now the president of the Honor Society. Colleagues, I was told that I was looking at a different screen, so you didn't see me frontally. So I have turned to ensure that you can see me properly now. I have two screens in front of me, so I'm looking at the one that is, directly in front of me. Thank you again, Chanel. At this time, I want to say to you that you've heard a lot from us. We want to hear from you now. And this is really why we have decided to call this Let's Talk session, so that it's not one way of talking, but it's a two-way discussion. And so I want to introduce Kimani Shaw, who is the very affable FSS Guild representative. If ever there was a student who you could think of also as a colleague, as a team player, I think Kimani demonstrates or epitomizes these qualities. He's been very helpful and very proactive. And so we want to introduce him now so that he can guide us through the question and answer session. So Kimani, thank you again for being part of this series, and over to you.
All right, everyone hear me clearly?
Yes, we are.
Okay, great. So welcome again, everyone. Welcome to the administrative team that are here and to the students who are tuning in with us. We do appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule to be here with us today. And we also do hope that you learned something very valuable from this Let's Talk series student segment. Now, I just really want to comment on what Chanel was sharing. It was a lot of great tips. Trust me, a lot of good and excellent gems were shared. And if you missed it, you can also share the link with your friends. You can go back. These are some excellent study tips. These are study tips that I myself follow, and they have proven to be exceptionally well. So it's some really great recommendations, and I really do hope that if you're not going by this strategy, you should definitely try it out, because it's It's one for the history books. So here we're gonna have some questions. You would have seen a Google form going around where you have the opportunity of sending in your particular questions, anything that you have, any concerns that you have, any issues that you might be going through and you'd like to be answered today at this Let's Talk series. And we have the questions right here, right? So the administrative team are here to answer all the questions that you would have posed in the Google form. Also, if you have not completed the Google form, feel free to comment in the chat below anything, any questions that you'd like for us to answer, or any concerns that you'd like to raise and you'd like to respond for. So with all that said, let's get on to the questions. Now, the first one we're going to start off with is with the degree of psychology. And the question is, what jobs can I get with a bachelor's degree in psychology?
So this is specifically with a bachelor's degree. So remember, with a bachelor's degree, you wouldn't be deemed a psychologist. You would have to work under the tutelage of a licensed and trained psychologist who would have a PhD and perhaps is practicing as a clinician or so. But I would say with a BSc, there are perhaps three I would highlight. If Dr. James Bateman is still on with us, I will ask her as well to jump in. But I think with a BSc, certainly you can practice as a teacher. You can teach. I can see one functioning as a human resource relations officer, and also as a school counselor, I would say, with a bachelor's in psychology. But who better to answer that question than Dr. James Bateman? So let me ask her to take the floor.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Ricketts. All right, so my first advice is usually to tell students, go on to the master's, but it doesn't mean that and PhD as well, or PsyD, but it doesn't mean that the bachelor's limits you. When applying for programs, when applying to jobs, you have to look at the research element. You have to know how to sell yourself. So you have different areas that you can focus on. If you've completed the counseling and therapy course, you can apply as a counselor to a high school. So that area is an area that you can look at. If you've completed a lot of research courses, you want to also maximize on that. And that it's usually you have a lot of organizations that are sending out for researchers, research assistants, etc. And what I would encourage you to do is that while you're pursuing the degree, is to align yourself with other lecturers, see what they're doing, and so they can also guide you in terms of what you can do, because there are different areas that you can apply to with the bachelor's. So HR, high schools, research, and depending on the courses that you've selected, you can highlight your strengths at that level and just apply to different organizations. But certainly you wouldn't be considered as a psychologist practicing out there. You at least would need a master's degree or a PhD or PsyD in order to do that.
Okay, great. So you guys heard it all. So I love the fact that you all brought up the importance of connecting with your lecturers, because that is very important to have a good student-lecturer relationship, because you never know. Some of your lecturers are actually in certain organizations that can actually help you after you leave university in regards to getting a job or just getting an internship. So developing a good student-lecturer relationship is of utmost importance as a university student. And that will lead me to my next question, and it's in regards to the same psychology major, right? I believe Dr. Bateman, as a psychology lecturer, you can also answer this question. What is the pass mark right now for the psychology courses, or for the psychology major?
Carol, you taking it? Yes?
Yes.
Okay.
That would be 50 and above, correct?
Yes, the minimum would be 50.
But you want to, I think that if you invest in the psychology courses, sorry, I have the lawnmower in the background, so it's distracting me a bit. But if you invest in, if you invest in your psychology courses and you use the tips that Chanel mentioned, you can certainly get higher grades. So you don't want to enter the program and just look for a pass. You want to supersede that. So invest in your studies. You have your lecturers there, you have support there, you have information there. Connect with the material and do your absolute best so that you can stand out amongst your peers. So I wouldn't be looking too much at a pass, but more at B plus and above.
All right, so never put a limit on your standards. And I would also put back to what the strategies that outlined earlier are really important to apply those strategies in your studying hours, because they are really important and they work really well. So thank you for that answer, Dr. Bateman and Dr. Ricketts. And that will lead me to my next question. All right. So as a hotel student in the middle of a pandemic, what opportunities are out there for us to pursue? Like, for instance, are there any jobs available, since most hotel sectors would be barely open or some are completely closed right now?
Well, that's a challenging question, I have to admit, Kimani, and students generally, because I mean, we know there's tremendous impact that COVID has had on the hotel and tourism sector. Much of the sector still hasn't come back. A couple of weeks ago, I heard a figure of something like about 14% thereabout of the sector that was back, and this was for Jamaica. But I would say that the buzzword with COVID in the COVID context is pivoting, and a number of things have pivoted to online. So I would say with training in, especially when I look at the hotel and tourism management majors and specials, we see that they have training in like events planning. And I would say that arranging online parties or online events could be things that hotel and tourism students highlight about themselves, and they can sell themselves as being able to do this. I know, people are organizing all kinds of meetings are being held online, big events such as weddings. Much of the wedding party is going to be looking online. They're going to be joining by Zoom or some other platform. Similarly, funerals, much of the persons who are attending are also going to be attending online. So I would say if hotel students can highlight the events planning part of their training, they can use this to start even a business. I mean, I was reading very recently in the US of how hotel students have got together. One or two of them have got together and they are now planning children's parties, for example, online children's parties, using the events planning courses that they have been trained in. So that would be one of my suggestions.
Yeah, can I just add to that?
Sure.
I think it's also important to think outside of the box. So use your creativity. So in as much as you're being posed with this challenge, you do have courses that you can maximize on and you can sell yourselves. So think creatively. Think of ways in which you can apply the information that you've gotten, and don't just limit yourself to just a course of study, because there are opportunities there.
All right, so spread your wings outside of your particular major. Just a follow-up question. I think even myself would be interested in this. But is there any recommended like pages or websites, like not just for hotel and tourism management majors, but for any university student that they could use for reference in terms of whenever they like to know if their job opportunity is available? Any websites or any companies or pages that we could look out for?
Well, I know that, I saw the Minister of Labor and Social Security and the Permanent Secretary very recently signed an MOU, a Memorandum of Understanding with UTech about the labor market information exchange, I think. I would say that the Ministry of Labor has a labor market information exchange, a system, and students can go on there and they can indicate that they are looking for a job. Employers too are also using the exchange and they are indicating what they are looking for. And so many opportunities can arise just from the labor market information exchange. Youngsters know also about this Fiverr. That's one of the tools that I know a number of youngsters are using to sell some of their skills. Some people might be very good at taking minutes, for example, or for editing. You know, there are some of you who write very well and you can edit people's work. So you can highlight those skills on a website such as Fiverr, fiverr.com, I think, or org, I don't remember. But I know that it is being promoted, and there are other such websites that students can sell some of their strengths on and get business. Those are the two I would say.
All right, thank you, Dr. Ricketson.
Just to highlight that we do have a labor market information exchange, which is run by the Ministry of Labor, and students can put their resumes there, indicate that they're looking for a job, and employers who are looking can use the exchange to see what's available.
All right, thank you, Dr. Whitman. Thank you as well to Dr. Ricketts. I'd also like to add to that, there are two great things that you can also look out for as well. There's UCA Jamaica. They're on social media and Twitter. They always post job opportunities there. And also LinkedIn. If you're not a part of LinkedIn, I highly suggest that you sign up. It's a great place in regards to getting job opportunities. And it also looks good whenever you're trying to apply for a job, especially if you have a good resume. They have a lot of training courses that you can also sign up for that will come up on your LinkedIn profile, and employers can see that and they will be more likely to actually hire you for a job. So it's a good place whenever you are trying to get a part-time job or maybe looking for a full-time job. So those are just two great suggestions, as well as Campus Elite. Campus Elite is also a good recommendation.
Say that again, Kimani. Campus what?
Yes, Campus Elite.
Spell it?
Campus Elite.
Campus Elite. Oh, okay. Yes. Okay, thank you.
All right, no problem. Also, if anyone would like any follow-up questions or any questions or concerns outside of this session when we are wrapped up, you can feel free to send an email to fssdepdean@uemona@edu.com. And that is fssdepdean@uemona.edu.jm. I'm sure one of the administrative team that are here with us on YouTube would type it in the chat so that if you have any follow-up questions afterwards, you can feel free to send an email to that email.
I have one other thing to add, Kimani. I think mentorship is also important, because when you join a mentorship program or you attach yourself to a mentor, you're networking. And the more you get yourself out there and persons know you, then they can, and they know what your interests are, then they can recommend you for a job. So mentorship program, that is also a good place to get some opportunities.
And since you said that, Carol, I would add as well volunteering. So especially for people in fields such as psychology, social work, you can volunteer. And through your voluntary service, you will be seen because you're putting yourself out there. And once you're there, you know, one thing leads to another. And like mentorship, it will result in some positive outcomes.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
All right, to hear that, guys, so many great recommendations here for you to pick, choose, and refuse from. All right, so we're going to move along to the next question, and it's a question I've been asked a lot by a lot of students, and I really love that we're having a question asked here, so we can clear the air and students can have a better understanding on how to go about this. Now, the question is relatively simple. Can I do, as a part-time student, that is, can I do 4 courses instead of 3 in semester 2? And I think a lot of first-year students really love this clarification as well.
Okay, so Kimani and students, as a part-time student, you are not permitted to do more than 7 courses in an academic year. You must, however, if you wish to do 4 courses, you must satisfy the following requirements. You should have completed at least 8 courses before for finalizing students. And you must meet, if you are a full-time student, you must have met the matriculation requirements if you still are a part-time student, you must have met the matriculation requirements for a full-time student. So you can't, you would have had to do at least 8 courses prior, and you are allowed to do no more than 7 courses across the academic year as a part-time student. So make sure that you have done the 8 courses and that your GPA looks healthy, that you can be permitted to do a 4th course, for example, in one of the semesters.
All right, and on the topic of the requirements, right, going forward, how does a student actually go about a credit check to know if they currently have the required amount of credits needed as a part-time student or a full-time student to graduate and get their degree?
Right. So you would recall that in my presentation, I actually spent a little time indicating to students that what you have to do is to get your handbook and your transcript, if you have a transcript as yet. So you would have at least spent maybe a semester here and you have a transcript. But even if you don't yet have a semester, you don't have grades for a semester, you have to get your handbook for the year that you came and get to the program that you are pursuing, major and or the minor. If you're doing a minor with a major, or you are double majoring, or you have 2 minors with a major, and you follow to ensure to the letter all of the requirements. So that's how you really do your credit check, by going through what the handbook for your year says about your program, ensuring that you have completed all the required credits and the required courses at the various levels. And I want to stress again, Kimani, that where, let's say the program says you are allowed 5 level 2 electives, then you can't choose 1 electives. Or it says 4 level 3 electives. 3 can't be 2 and 1 3. It all has to be what the program requirements state. So the handbook again, the handbook.
All right, Dr. Ricketts, what
Yes.
happens in a case, for instance, where at the end of, for instance, 3 years for a student at the University of the West Indies, Mona, at the end of the 3 years when they're supposed to be graduating, what happens if they don't have the required GPA in order to graduate? What would you recommend for a student in a situation like this?
Well, the student doesn't really have to do anything. It comes to my attention, so I see the transcript and I recognize that the GPA is below 2. And so I have to write to the board for undergraduate studies to ask them to adjudicate. So as part of my letter, and I'm actually finalizing my letter now for students who happen to fall into that position, what I do is I present the student. I have to present the student. I have to give a little background, what the student is what's pursuing, what the cumulative GPA is, what the degree GPA is, when the student started, if the student took any leaves of absence or the student was required to withdraw at any time. I kind of have to give a little history of the student, and that's how I present them. And then I ask the board for undergraduate studies give a declaration as to whether the degree should be awarded or not. So I'm in the process of finalizing. Hopefully by tomorrow, I would have finished my letter of all the students that I'm writing to the board for, and I expect that the board will quickly turn around its decision. So Kimani, it has.
All right, thank you for that. That's a bit, man.
So I can't help any such student, neither can the dean or the principal. It goes to the board for undergraduate studies for determination. Thanks.
Okay, I'd also like to highlight, not many students would have noticed, some would have noticed that the Faculty of Social Sciences, for students who probably aren't academically cleared right now, you would have realized that you were not permitted for sitting your exams. And I really do appreciate that, because you know that it's a very hard time right now, and a lot of students don't have the money to clear their academic fees. And I would have contacted the faculty and they would have highlighted and clarified that if even at the moment we understand that SLB, there's a little bit of hatred SLB right now, and you understand that. So for students who are not academically cleared at the moment, you'd still be able to do exams, and you would have noticed that for mid semesters have already started. But on the same topic of GPA, I was also asked this question, and it's been asked a number of times by different students, which shows that there needs to be some clarification here. But if a student has failed certain courses and then proceed to do them over, would that change their GPA for the corresponding year, or would there be no effect?
Well, it would be affected. For the level 1 courses, the cumulative GPA would be affected. But for the level 2 and 3 courses, it's the degree GPA affected. So yes, there would be some impact. So for level 1, it's the cumulative GPA. And for levels 2 and 3, if the courses are level 2 or level 3, then the degree GPA is affected.
All right, so one more question. I will take one from the chat. All right. So what do you think is the perfect minor for a management studies degree, right? If you've been trying to apply for one and still can't, what do you think is the perfect minor for a management studies degree?
Well, Kimani, I'm not a management studies lecturer or specialist. So my automatic answer would be that the student tries to seek academic advising from the department. But from just my processing of students' academic transcripts for graduation, I'm seeing some natural kinds of fits. So I'm seeing people doing management studies, accounting, which I consider to be quite, useful, that combination. Also, some persons are doing management studies with psychology. And well, I've seen more of it with HRM and psychology. But I would say for management studies, even a foreign language. So do Spanish, do French, do Japanese. That way you kind of distinguish yourself now from the lot, and you are so much more marketable if you did this. I'll just share, if I can, I'll share a little personal experience I had when my daughter was doing A-level Cape Spanish, and she was getting some extra lessons from Colombian person from the Colombian embassy, and that Senora had a number of mature students who were working in the private sector, particularly in marketing jobs, but the private sector company now had, let's expanded its wings beyond Jamaica and was in places like Costa Rica, Puerto Rico, etc. And these marketing officers were now required to learn Spanish to be able to do their jobs. So I'm just saying, do a foreign language. It could be Spanish, it could be French. These days, it could be Japanese, it could be Chinese. you know, do a foreign language, I would say. But let me just go back to say, seek academic advice from your department. I'm not the management studies specialist.
All right. So thank you for that, Dr. Ricketts. And also a reminder, if you have any questions or any concerns outside of this, feel free to send in your email to fssdepdean@uemona.edu.jm. And remember to answer and also to comment any questions or concerns in the chat. And now we're going to take one question from Alia Wind, and it says that what would be the advice for someone whose course has been cancelled and they are unsure of what to do?
Well, if your course, is it a course that has been canceled? I would say immediately you have to get in touch with the program coordinator. But I would have expected that departments, if they are canceling courses, would have communicated with students and could say to students, these are the alternatives. So if that hasn't been done, maybe it is something to be brought to my attention, but I would say that it's the program coordinators or the heads of departments who need to answer here. Are there any heads of departments on or program coordinators? Kimani, do you know what course it was from which department? If you can,
No,
can tell us
the
the
student didn't
department.
say, but if Alia wins, if you could answer that question, tell her which course or the department it was, we could
Or
provide you with a
department.
more precise answer.
Yes.
So you can comment in the chat, but in the meantime, while you do that, we can proceed with the next question. All right. So a student has asked, right? Their major is banking and finance, and they want to pursue a minor in management studies, which is 15 credits. However, they wanted to know if the other 5 slots for electives can be filled with other management courses.
Sure, they can go right ahead and do, you know, other management courses. So the answer is an emphatic yes.
All right, great. So as a follow-up question, if the student had finished and passed all their exams in the upcoming finals this December, would they be allowed to graduate in January 2021? And they said that they just found out that they had an extra course which delayed their degree.
I think that would be highly unlikely, Kimani, unfortunately, because I think the examination section is organizing that by the middle of November or third week of November, that they would have the entire list of graduates prepared. So I don't think it would be possible. The degree would be awarded maybe round about February into March, but the student chances are would have to wait for the next round of graduation, which would we hope could be November, for November 2020, for them to actually cross a stage, you know, physically. So highly unlikely, Kimani.
All right, so they'll get their degree in, you can get their degree in February, but to actually graduate.
I would say about February, March, yes, the degree would be awarded, but they would have to wait about November if we to for the actual walking across that stage and collecting that certificate.
Yeah. All right, thanks for that clarification. I think it's also, it's the bottom line is we all want to, you know, actually graduate and probably go collect our certificate. But the most important thing though is that you actually have your degree. So it shouldn't hinder you from what you want to pursue afterwards, seeing that you have your degree. But you know, if you're a student who actually want to go through the whole graduation process, then you know you can look forward to that in November 2021, hopefully. All right. So the next question is from another student. They said that they would like to switch their program of study from tourism management to management studies. How soon can they make this request? And I think it it not just goes for that alone. I think this can go for any other courses outside of tourism management studies. Like how soon can a student go about in switching a course right now?
Well, they're not able to do so in their first year. So a student can't change their major in their first year, but the earliest opportunity that a first year student will have to be able to request a change of major would be in January 2021, and it would be applied for the academic year 2021. If, however, they are a returning student, they can make their request at any point during the semester. So you really can't change your major unless you have finished your first year, but you can apply for the change of major from about January 2021 if you are first year. But for returning students, anytime you can.
All right. And just a follow-up question regarding that, right? So what are the factors regarding to switching major? What are the factors that determine whether or not they actually receive an approval for the change in their program? And say, for instance, they apply for this change, who can they consult in order to get additional assistance in seeking that approval?
Okay, so I just want to read, and you might have seen me flipping page. I was really trying to find the letter from the campus principal, which was sent, dated September 11th, the requirements to pursue majors and minors. I just want to read it. The campus registrar, Dr. Stanbury, says, please be advised that students are required to apply to and receive approval from their faculty before being eligible to pursue a major or minor. Please note that the university reserves the right not to declare a major or minor if approval was not granted by the faculty to pursue the major minor, even if the requisite conditions have been satisfied. Please note that this only applies in instances where a student is changing from the major that they were admitted to the university, into the university for, or if they wanted to pursue a minor along with their major. So there are some clear requirements now stipulated by the university through the campus registrar, and students should be so aware. It was addressed to all undergraduate students, and it's dated September 11th.
All right. Also, just a note that if you like to contact your lecturer, you can also reach out to the department or the faculty office, right? You can contact them and they can provide you with that information, as well as for students who are familiar with the Faculty of Social Sciences, Administrative, and the Guild Committee Instagram and social media accounts. You can also send them a message there and you can ask for the lecturer's contact information. That is their email address. Or for students who are in contact with myself, you can also reach out to me and I can provide you with that assistance. All right. So just our question, going back to a question that was asked before that we didn't get the major for, we got the major now, right? Just to remind of the question is that what would be your advice for someone whose course has been canceled and they are sure of what they're supposed to do? And that student just highlighted that to me that the program of study is tourism. And they'd also like to add that to change a major regarding tourism to business management, being that the major has been canceled, how long will it take for a student to be accepted into that major?
Well, just to say, Kimani, that the tourism management major hasn't been canceled. What has been suspended is the tourism management special and the hotel management special, both of which were taken at the Center for Hotel and Tourism Management in the Bahamas, the CHTM. The Mona campus is offering the major in tourism management and also hotel management. I would say to the student, if they have any queries, I would ask them to bring them to the attention of Dr. Andrew Spencer, who is the Deputy Executive Director of the MSBM with responsibility for undergraduate matters. And he is overseeing the tourism and hospitality management majors. So Dr. Andrew Spencer would be the person that I would recommend the student get in touch with.
All right. Just wondering if Dr. Ricketts, is it possible to share Dr. Andre Spencer's UE Mona email address for students who would like to reach out to him?
Sure. So I will just I can put it type it in the chat here, and I will ask that it be shared. So, but I can say it. It's Andrew.Spencer, ANDREW.Spencer, SPENCER @uemona.edu.jm.
All right. So for any student that would fall into that category, or any student in MSBM, I would like to pursue a course in MSBM, are currently facing any issues or difficulties, you can contact the Deputy Executive Director, that is Dr. Andre Spencer.
Andrew
Spencer, all right. Yes. At Andrew, ANDREW.Spencer @uemona.edu.jm. I see Dr. Ricketts just sent it in the chat. Thank you very much, Dr. Ricketts.
Yes.
All right. And the administrative team can also share that in the YouTube chat as well for students to see and send the email to Dr. Spencer. All right.
I think Kimani has frozen a bit.
Yes.
Yes. Are there any other questions in case anybody would want to pose the questions? I can answer them until, and Dr. James Bateman, until Kimani comes back. So please feel free to share any questions that you have with us. Team, any questions? I know students ask about the number of credits that are required to get a degree, how many credits are allocated. And remember that a degree, the minimum number of credits in the Faculty of Social Sciences is 90. Some programs, like the Social Work Special, the minimum number of credits is 99 credits. So I would, and remember that you must take 30 at level 1, 30 at level 2, 30 at level 3. Or if you are social work, 33 at level 1 and 66 at levels 2 and 3. They have some 6 credit courses, which are the practicum and internship courses. Yeah. So 30 at level 1, 30 level 2, 30 level 3, or 60 between levels 2 and 3. Remember the 0 level credits, they do not count. Any course that is requiring 0 level, it's like a prerequisite for another course. It will not count as a level 1 course. I see Dr. Bateman wanting to add something.
Well, not for the credits, Dr. Ricketts. There's a question here. How do I go about requesting a minor in another faculty?
Okay, so if you're requesting a minor from another faculty, you should log into SAS and apply or to request a change of minor. Yes? So that's how or to request a minor. Yes? go on to SAS and do so. Remember that I just want to say that when the request for minors, like you want to add a minor or so, you're requesting a minor, you have to, as a student, you have to follow up. So I would ask that some follow-up be done with the specific department, because the system currently does not prompt the department to say, you know, Heather is waiting for the approval. So you as the student, you need to just follow up, call the office, the department office, say to the administrator, I applied for this, could you please check? So that's what I would recommend be done.
That's a good point, Dr. Ricketts, showing initiative,
yes,
staying on top of it. There's another question. What are the factors that determine whether I receive approval for the change in my program of study? Who can I consult to receive further information on this matter?
Okay, so you have to go back to your program coordinators here. They are important. And let me remind you of the campus registrar's letter. You have to receive approval from the faculty before being eligible to pursue a major or minor. And you know, students, let me say that I believe some of this was prompted by, I have found, for example, sitting in this chair for the last 3 months, that there have been students in another faculty outside of FSS who have sat down in the other faculty and they have taken an entire degree in the Faculty of Social Sciences. Yeah? Or they either a major, a full major, sometimes a double major, or a minor, as the case might be. You have to get in touch with the faculty. And I would say you should get in touch with the department in which the major or the minor is being taught. Please get in touch with them, indicate that you would like to request it, and follow up. Yeah.
We have another question. Are our degrees recognized worldwide? If so, can we use our degrees to obtain a career overseas?
Of course, they are recognized worldwide. Well, I don't know. Students would have to be under a rock not recognized, because the Vice Chancellor is the biggest promoter of our rank on the Times Higher Education scale. So the Times Higher Education is the world's most reputable ranking agency for higher education institutions. And right now, the UWI is ranked, let me just make sure I check my figures, in the top 600 universities in the world for 2019 and for 2020. We are in the 40 best universities in Latin America and the Caribbean for 2018 and 19. And we are the only Caribbean-based university that has made this prestigious list. So students, yes, the answer is an emphatic, we are a worldwide recognized university.
Yes, yeah. And I can add to that, we're well sought after, so. All right, another question. For my degree in regards to honors, will my minor contribute to me obtaining or not obtaining any honors?
Yes, your minor counts. So make sure that you, because the minor counts towards your degree GPA. Remember, the minor would be mostly the second and third year courses, and it would count to your degree GPA. So yes, the minor does count.
And then last question, how many credits are needed to get the degree? How are credits allocated?
Right, so let me go back over. So 30, so 90 credits for the degree. If you are social work, 99 credits. Level 1, a minimum of 30 credits. Level 2, a minimum of 30. Well, let me say between levels 2 and 3, 60 credits, a minimum of 60 credits. Because the way they would count level 2 credits would be credits associated with a course starting with the numeral 2. So between levels 2 and 3, 60 credits. So students, please don't just say that I have 10 courses at level 1. You could have 10 courses at level 1, but one of the course may be a 0 level course, and so it will not count. So you may have 10 courses, but you end up with 27 credits at level 1. Can't graduate. Can't graduate. Or you have 19 courses at levels 2 and 3, which would be 57 credits. Can't graduate either. So please ensure the number of credits. Yep.
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Ricketts.
Yes, you're welcome. Well, it looks like Kimani has been knocked off fully.
Yeah.
If there are any other questions, you know, I would welcome them. I'm not sure. I'm looking to see.
Yeah.
Any other questions? So students, feel free to send in your questions to us. We'll answer them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Any more? If no more questions.
No, that was the last one.
That was the last question. Okay. So let me remind you all students to submit any follow-up questions you have to the FSS Dep Dean. All that means is FSS Deputy Dean, FSS Dep Dean at uemona.edu.jm, and I will try to answer them. Now, I am dealing with tons of questions about graduation, as you would imagine. Students who are saying to me that they have finished, they have not yet seen the degree awarded, etc., etc. And so, you know, I will take my time to ensure that I answer the questions. But just to say to you, if you send the question tomorrow and you don't see me answer until, say, Monday, you know, it's because of many things that have come in between, meetings and other very, very pressing matters having to do with finalizing students, and, well, not so much finalizing, students who are graduating and need their degrees declared and then, of course, awarded by the exam section and uploaded to their transcript. It appears that Kimani has been knocked off and can't come back on. And so I am being asked to announce the names of the winners of the giveaway. There was a giveaway, or there are giveaways for being the first 3 students to pose questions via the Google form. And so let me announce, and I'm knocking my desk, the 3 persons: Travis Thomas from SPSW, Sociology, Psychology, and Social Work; Johnelia Jackson from the Western Jamaica campus; and Christopher Blake, again from the Sociology, Psychology, and Social Work department. And to let you know that your giveaways, your gifts, we will get in touch with you about how you will collect these gifts. Students, it's now 4:22, and maybe what's left for me to do is to thank you all for being here. Not just you, but also to my colleagues, Dr. James Bateman, who is, you know, who has to work closely with me as the Associate Dean for Undergraduate Matters. And I'm happy that she was able to be here for the entire period. All of the administrators from the faculty office. Kimani? Kimani seems to be back.
Or he's trying.
Oh, he's trying. Okay. So yes, so I'm thanking the administrators from the faculty office and also from the departments who made themselves available. Students, I thank you for being here as well. I don't have a sense of how many of you, but if somebody could tell me from the YouTube how many of you have joined, I would, you know, I would be grateful. But I'm sure I will hear later on. I want to thank you for your participation. I want to thank you for sharing your questions. Okay, so I'm saying about 40 students have joined for the session. This will not be our last session. It is the first in a series. We will want to know how you're doing. Dr. James Bateman will, once Roll With It is up, she will want to get in touch with you again, you know, tell you a little bit more and whip up your engagement there. So, you know, I just want to, what's left for me to do is to thank all of you. Thank Professor David Tennant, our Dean, for being here with us and for giving us the welcome and opening remarks. To thank Kimani. Kimani, are you there?
No, he
No,
got
not at all. Can't get on. To thank Kimani for being the gracious host for the segment dealing with the actual Let's Talk. Thank Chanel for the study skills and those tips. Chanel, I mean, I never employed some of the tips, or I should say I didn't know the scientific terminologies for some of the tips that I may have employed, but I see that they actually have, you know, big names and so on now. So we thank everyone. And I want to thank Stephanie Pinnock, who is the Senior Administrative Officer in the Faculty of Social Sciences, for working closely to pull this off. Francesca Lloyd McDavid, our Marketing Officer, Alison Bailey Wedderburn, our Administrative Officer, Mrs. Shara Lou Williams, who is our Strategic Planner and Institutional Research Officer, everybody, Mr. Joshua Bell, from the technology side, Keisha Sherman Howell, all, I want to thank you all for your tremendous support in getting this done. Dr. James Bateman, if you might want a few words, and I will give you the last say. So please feel free.
Well, I'd just like to thank you for this opportunity. And I'm happy to hear the questions re-psychology and employment, which goes to show how much of a demand there is for psychology, and I would advocate for it for any minor, for persons who would like to have a better understanding of themselves and society, and you know how to integrate and help others. So it's a really good degree to pursue, but I'm being biased. But I would like to thank you for this time and for allowing me to introduce the Roll With It initiative. And I'm looking forward to your participation. I'm looking forward to information from you as to how best we can support you. So thank you.
Thank you again, Dr. James Bateman. Thank you all. Students, just remember, handbook, handbook, handbook. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.